So how do you have predictable income with government contracts? Y'all want to know and see a tool that is going to be accessible to you for free. And we're going to leave the link to it right in the chat. You get the opportunity to play with this tool and actually have predictable income. But even with this tool where you're predicting a six-figure business, multiple six-figure business, a multiple $1 million business, multi-billion dollar, whether you're predicting whatever it is that you want to achieve, you still have to do the work. There's still work to do before you can even get to succeed. So if you haven't created your marketing strategy, if you're not networking and have an outreach plan, if you haven't carved out what your capabilities are and what you're going to be offering to the government, what is your value, you haven't researched pricing structures and strategies to just have a better idea of how not to leave money on the table. If you haven't done any of that stuff yet, of course you have to do those things, right? And some of the things that you have to do even prior to getting started is knowing what it is that you're getting yourself into and how to best position yourself to get in those situations to extract the most value out of it. There's a strategy to getting started with that, but there's also a strategy to backing into the numbers and reaching your financial goals. And this is one of the tools that I personally designed to help you get there faster to reach your goals. Once you've gotten the stuff out of the way, first you have to get qualified, then you have to get activated and optimized, and then you have to strategically plan to actually get paid on purpose, right? So this is a GovCon calculator. So I'm going to drop the link in the description notes of my YouTube page. So basically, let's just say if you're not bidding, you're not winning. If you're not looking for opportunities, you're not looking for nothing to bid on, you're never going to get no contracts if you're not doing the work, right? Because a lot of times we get caught up in our head and we think all the busy work, right? All the busy things that we're doing in our head and not executing in reality is going to get us to the contract. We're trying to wonder why we're not getting results. It's because you're not doing the work. That's why you're not getting the result, because you're not doing the work, right? Or you're giving up before your breakthrough, all that stuff, right? So anyways, let's just say rule of thumb. I go by the 10% rule if you're just getting started. If you're brand new to this particular space, 10% rule. For every 10 bids that you submit, you can expect to win one. Now, it's just a baseline rule of thumb. This is not always necessarily 100% true. Sometimes, and we have had clients, the first bid they submit, they won. So that's 100% win rate, but those numbers and averages would begin to tailor off as you continue to move forward. So anyway, if you want to win one, you got to submit 10, okay? Let's just say your goal is to make $250,000. I'm just doing some simple math here. Your goal is to make $250,000 and you have a 10% win rate. Let's say 1 in 10, submit 10, you get one. Let's see what this calculator is going to say. This is a monthly calculator tool that you've won, right? This tool basically is saying if you submit 10 bids a month and you win one, and those bids are an average of $250,000, then that month you will have secured $250,000. Now, if you submit 15 a month and your average win is a 10% win rate, and your average bid amount is going to be $250,000, then that month you will have secured at least $375,000 for that month. That means if you never do anything else for the rest of the 11 months in the year, then you will have grown your business by a little over $300,000 for that particular year. If your goal is actually to make $1 million, it does not take that long. Let's just say your goal is to make $1 million in a year, to add $1 million in a year. Let's just say you submit $100,000, a bid for $100,000. This falls under the simplified acquisition rule. So those contracts that are under $100,000, and for this particular month, you submit 10 for the around the range of about $100,000, right? You win 1 out of 10. That's $100,000 that you've secured in government contracts for that 1 month, right? Now, I'm not saying that you're going to get paid $100,000 for 1 month of service. I'm saying it's a contract that you've secured. That contract could be a 12-month contract. So let's just use that as a scenario. Over the next 12 months, you're dividing $100,000 by 12. Now your monthly revenue is going to be based off for the invoicing, right? So if your goal is to actually make $1 million in a year, then you need to be doing this at least once a month. 10 contracts at $100,000 with a 10% bid rate. Now, if you do the things that I always recommend in our trainings, recommend that you get a debrief and you know why you lost, and you understand why you won the things. This number, desired number, percentage of bids won, this number is going to increase. It's going to increase from 10 to 20, 10 to 15. So those numbers are going to continue to go up. It'll never be 100% everything you bid, you'll win. It'll never be that, right? So let's just say you double down on getting better at your weak points, right? Maybe you've gotten some debriefs, maybe you've gotten some feedback, maybe you've gotten better at responding responsibly to these opportunities, and you've increased your win rate to 20%, right? You've doubled your win rate. So out of the 10, instead of winning one, now you're going to win two, and now your $100,000 a month in secured contracts is now $200,000, right? If you do that every single month, by the end of the year, if you secure that by the end of the year, you will have grown your business by over $2 million, like 2.2 million, right? So 2.4 million, which is amazing, right? Let's just say you, as you're landing these contracts, now you're able to team up with other individuals, other businesses that do exactly what you do. You're able to leverage their time, build capacity, all that stuff. And now you can go after even more contracts. So let's just say you doubled your efforts, not even doubled the number of bids, but maybe you've added a 50% increase in the number of bids that you submit, same amount of rate, same number percentage won. And now you've increased your bid from $200,000 a month in secured contracts to $300,000 just by making that small tweak. So you can either increase the amount of work that you want to do, right? 20 is a lot, right? That's substantially a lot, but I'm just using this as an example. You're either working harder, right? Submitting more bids with the same amount of bid rate wins, at the same amount of average bidding that you're doing, and you're making more money working harder, or you can do the same amount of work that you start off doing, 10 bids a month, and you can just get better at bidding. Boom. Look at that. Same amount of work. You just got better at bidding and you're making that money, right? Or you go after larger contracts because now you're able to do teamwork to make the dream work. You're building capacity. Now, collectively, joint ventures and partnerships, you're able to go after larger projects, and same amount of work, same amount of bid percentage won. And now you're making $1 million, securing $1 million in a month in a government contract. That's a 12-month contract. So that if you just get one for the year, you're good to go. But if you did this specific strategy once a month, then that's like $1 million times 12. That's $12 million a year. Now, as you can see, how significantly your business can grow when you're doing business on purpose with a purpose, right? And you're doing it strategically, and you're planning out, here's what I'm going to do to actually reach my financial goal. Let's just say maybe there's a contracting opportunity that is $250,000. I'm going to submit 10 bids of this $250,000 every single month at 20% bid win rate. That's $500,000 in one contract, right? For that month that I've secured. And even if it's a 12-month contract, then I know that I take the $500,000, divide that by 12, it's going to tell me what my monthly invoicing volume is going to be. But also, let's just say it's a 24-month contract, because that could happen too. Then I just take the $500,000 and divide that into 24 months. So now I know over the next 24 months, here's what I'm going to be invoicing. So it's all about strategy. It's all about planning forward and just putting it out there. But it's going to take you effort. It's going to take you work. And before you can get better with the number of bids that you win, maybe you've gotten so good and now you have an internal team that are writers and technical writers, and they're good with finding partners and strategic partners. Maybe internally now, once you grow your business, you can get like a 50% bid win rate, right? Record going. So let's look at how the numbers change. Same amount of work, same amount of bid levels that you're going after or whatever. The contractual value. Now you're at $1.2 million, right? $1.25 million in a contract that you can win on and secure on a monthly basis. You don't have to go after the bids that are like 100 or let's see, $1.5 million. You can. We have people that have secured those, right? You don't have to necessarily have to go after large $1 million contracts in order to win $1 million. At the baseline of 10 bids a month at a 10%, using our 10% rule of winning 1 in 10, right? That's $1.5 million if you go after that. But even as you get better, that automatically doubles, right? If you double the value or double your success in winning and responding to those bidding opportunities and pricing your stuff competitively, you will have doubled the amount of revenues that you've secured for that particular year. So when you look at it from this perspective, let's just say you only submitted 5, right? Now it's going to bring you back to 1.5 million. But hey, 5 is less work. Those are larger contracts. So this is a tool that you actually get access to just play around with and find the sweet spot. There is no right or wrong way. There's not too less of bids. There's not too many bids. There's not too less of percentage one. There's not too large of a contract unless you don't have the capacity, and you're going to look crazy if you go after something that is completely outside of your capacity to fulfill on, right? You're not going to win that. But this is a tool that you can't break. You can actually have predictable income. If you understand, if you've been watching me and following me for a while, you've heard me talk about micro purchases. You've heard me talk about simplified acquisition and just regular contracts, right? Even if you decided that, hey, I'm going to submit 10 bids a month under the simplified acquisition rule, and I'm going to bid on things that are at least that I can at least extract $150,000 from in this contractual value. And then I'm going to use Dr. K's 10% rule of thumb, right? And it's going to let me know what my end result is going to be for that particular month. So you take the $150,000 that you won and you do that every single month. You multiply that by 12, then that becomes $1.8 million in annual revenues that you just grew and scaled exponentially. Now imagine what that can do for you if you're currently, or when you're currently, or while you're currently making less than 6 figures. So imagine what government contracts can do for you. And when you look at it from this perspective of the opportunities that are on the table, the strategies that you can predictably go after and actually blow your bank account. And then when it comes to, do I invest in a $97 class to know how to do this stuff, right? This is just a no-brainer. Do I even invest in a $97,000 class to know how to do this stuff? It's a no-brainer, right? So it doesn't become a question or a hurdle of, is it worth it? Because it definitely is, especially when you see how the numbers could work. And if you're willing to do the work to make the numbers work for you, right? It's not a question about, is it worth it? Because it definitely is. Do you know your value? Do you know that you are worth it? And what can it do for your life? Those are the questions that you should be answering for yourself. Because I see, especially so many of my people that look like me, all the stuff, come from the same background. We have been stuck, programmed backwards. Like we've been programmed to do all the things hard and difficult and say no to all the things that can serve us on a high level and say yes to all the things that don't serve us and keep us where we are, which is stuck, broke, and making less than 6 figures in business.